Adobe Illustrator offers a lot of type options and type extras, including the ability to use your eyedropper tool from the toolbar to sample type characteristics that you've already created and reuse those same characteristics to a selected bit of text. We will also talk about creating a path and setting type on that path, as well as adding type within a created shape path area. So I've just got a little sample here, and I've got some Greek text going on over here that we can work with. First of all, we'll talk about how the eyedropper tool can be used to sample type styles. Now, if I was going through and setting type here, I can create another column of text, and I can also select these two columns, and I can now associate them by creating a link from one to the other. And now I want to make sure that these two are about the same size, so I'm going to bring up the transform panel, or the info panel would work as well, and I'm going to set the width to the same value in inches. And I will set this to also inches. Okay, and now that I have these two the same width of columns, might want to bring this a little closer here. And now I'm going to align these top using Window, Align. I'm going to align these two. And now I have a couple of text boxes, and I also want them to be about the same length as well. And this is, Greeking text, so I'm not going to be worried about the content at this point. But you can see that I have this subheading placed here. Now, I've already set a subheading style, which we can see by bringing up the character panel. You can see that I've chosen the light condensed style of Myriad Pro. And I've set the type size. I've added a little bit of tracking to that line in general to give a little more spacing between the type characters. Now I have this subheading, and I want to, rather than pull up my character panel and reset all of the text styles, I can actually select this text, and I can use my eyedropper tool to sample the style that I've already set. And notice when I hover over this line of text, the cursor of the eyedropper tool turns to the little T, and that just lets me know that I can sample that style. When I click once on that line of type, then you notice that it changes the style to match. So that was quick, easy, very, very handy tool to know that eyedropper tool can be used in that way. The weird thing is, let's say I have another bit of text. I'm going to go down here just to kind of get out of the way of what I've already typed, and I'm going to set an additional style. So I have this, and let's say I go through and I choose some different typeface. Let's try and I want to, now that I have this style, I want to apply it to these two subheadings. I can actually select this style, and with my eyedropper tool, if I hold down the Alt or Option key, notice how the eyedropper tool reverses and it has a little bit of color applied to it. And then when we hover over text, it lets us know we're going to apply a style to the text. What we're going to do is apply the style in reverse. In other words, reverse setting or applying the style of the selected text to the type or the text box that we hover over. Now we don't want to do that for an entire block of text, so I'm going to undo that. But it's interesting to note that when we're using the eyedropper tool, you can copy styles from text for a bit of selected text, or you can reverse that. Another thing that I might want to show you how to do is actually setting text on a path. So I can draw a path. Let's say I use my pen tool and I click and drag and drag and drag and I create a path. For me, it's a little easier to see that path if I look at it in stroke form. So I can swap fill and stroke if you don't have that already set. And we can look at that path as a stroke or outline. So here's my path. Now what I want to do is I'm going to copy some text here. Let's say we want to change the heading and put it on this path. I can copy this text, and now using Type on a Path tool, which is hidden under the text or the type tool. Let me move my path so that it's out of the way of that little heading box. Now if I hover over that path and click, I convert that path to what is similar to point text. And now I Command or Control V on the keyboard, and I have placed that text onto the path. Pretty cool stuff. And I'm going to have to play with this heading a little bit if I want it to span the path. I could change the size of the character. I could change the spacing or the tracking between the letter forms. So there's lots of things I could do to the text once I've applied it to the path in order to make it fit that path a little better. Word of caution. So a lot of times we want to set type on a path that's a circular, you want it to go above a logo icon that is round, for example. In that case, it's very tempting to draw a circle. It seems like it would be a logical thing to do, is to draw a circle and then using that path, using set type on the path, and paste. The problem with that is that sometimes you want to set the text down here underneath. So if that's the case, if I try to click down here on my circle, I can't. Because what Illustrator does is it understands this path, and the origin point is starting somewhere over here and going around the circle clockwise. So it's not a good idea to try and set text on a circular path, particularly when you want it to go underneath an icon. It's a better idea to actually create the path from scratch. And if you click and drag, oops, I kind of double clicked and did not intend to. If you click and drag and create your path, remember that you can always adjust the path as needed. And then you can set your type. And then you can go back through and adjust the path to actually smooth it out as you see is necessary by clicking and dragging the handles to simply adjust and reset that path. So I recommend actually creating a path from scratch in order to set type on a path. And then of course we could go back in once the type is there, and we could again change the size of the type. We could change the tracking or the spacing within the line of text. There's all sorts of options that we have. Now notice that I went too far and we've got overset text, which is the Illustrator lets us know by having the little red X on the end of the path. So it's really fun to practice with setting type on a path. And you can also now set type within a shape. I am going to break this connection here. So if I shift to select both of these items, I'm now going to break that link. I'm going to click here And now I've got that broken link icon. I'm going to break that link. I'm going to make myself a little bit of room by selecting this empty type box and deleting it. And I'm going to create a circle. I can create a circle, and I can actually place type within that. So I'm going to just copy some of the type over here, click and drag, Command C to copy some of that type. And now I'm going to type within this area. So I choose the Type Area tool. And now I can click on that path. And when I Command V or paste the text, it sets it inside of this path. Notice also that whenever I select a path to either set text within it or to run text along it, notice how the path disappears. If we needed to create a frame for this, if I hold the Shift key down, click and drag, I would actually physically make a separate frame for this. I make that outline, and then I could change the characteristics of that stroke or outline. And that's how I could really, offset this path that I've set text within. It's not great for legibility. This type of, sometimes you see this gimmick used for pull quotes and things of that nature. It is kind of gimmicky. It's fun to do, but we don't often see it in more formal presentations because it does make the type a little bit harder to read. It's a little bit harder to follow, just from user behavior studies and things of that nature. So use these effects with caution. And this concludes a little bit of practice with some typesetting options available in Illustrator.